is not present in the courtroom. Is there anything we need to take up outside the presence of the jury at this point in time? Prosecution?
Not that I'm aware of, Judge, only that we'll still be running the video through the podium here.
Okay. You should be fine to go. Defense?
No, Your Honor. The prosecution approached just a little while ago with some admitted exhibits that didn't match up with yours. I don't think we're going to have an objection to that as the defense, but just give me a couple minutes. I think we'll stipulate that they came in. Okay.
And I can check back too. I am like 99% positive that both of them came in.
I am too. So some of the stuff they showed me, I specifically remember coming in, like the Delbright Harley's phone and stuff like that. So I don't think it's going to be a problem, but I can just have a couple minutes.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And if necessary, we can check the record. I mean, we're talking about 48 pages of exhibit listings, and we're only off by 2 exhibits. That's pretty good.
I agree. Other than that, I don't have anything.
Okay. All right. And do we need to wait for Mr. Tellini?
No, we can start, Your Honor.
Okay. And do we have, and there's Mr. Grusing in the back?
Yes, he's.
Okay. And do we have everybody? Okay. All right. Then let's go ahead and bring the jury in. I will advise lawyers, you know it as well as I do, we have an adverse weather event from tomorrow evening into Wednesday morning. I don't know whether that's going to impact on anything or not.
It looks like it's going to be mostly northern El Paso County, is at least the projections that I've seen.
Okay.
So at least as long as people can get downtown, we should be okay.
Yeah, and I don't know which of our jurors it may potentially impact, but I'll have a discussion with them about it.
Yeah. Rockies.
Yep. Gotta love Colorado. All rise for the jury, please. Jack it in. You may all be seated. Court will recall 20 CR 1358 People versus Letecia Stauch. Record should reflect the jury's is present in the courtroom. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Couple of things. We anticipate that there may be an adverse weather event sometime. I think it's supposed to be tomorrow evening into Wednesday morning. So make sure 2 things. You have that contact information for me, my card, so that you know how to call us if you need to. Number 2, if there's an issue or you're concerned or you have a question, 719-520-SNOW, and that will tell you if there is a delay here at the courthouse. If it says that there is a 2-hour delay, be here at 10 o'clock instead of 9 o'clock. So not 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock. That should resolve that issue. I think it's primarily supposed to get more of the mountains and North Palmer Divide. I don't know how many of you may be up near that area, so just keep an eye on that. And then I have the question that you've all heard before. Has anything occurred since we were last together that causes any of you to believe you could not continue to serve as a fair and impartial juror in this case? If so, please raise your hand. No response. All right. When we took our break on Friday, we were in the midst of testimony from John Grusing. I think that's where we're resuming.
Yes, Judge.
All right. Mr. Grusing, if you would resume your seat in the witness stand, I remind you, sir, that you're still under oath.
And we don't need it just yet, Judge, but at some point here in just a minute or so, we're going to need these screens turned on as well. Good morning, Mr. Grusing. Did you have a good weekend?
I did, thank you.
Good. When we last had you on the stand, we had just played the portion of the video where you're talking with the defendant about the board that was found up in southern Douglas County. Do you remember that portion?
Yes,
And you used a word in your question, thrown, and then you got quite a challenge from the defendant. Was that consistent where she would challenge you on things that were maybe peripheral?
yes.
Can you give examples of that and what that meant to you during this interview?
Well, she used words like she was giving us keys, and then if I wasn't correct on my guesses, which I had asked her not to have me guess since I didn't know all the answers, she would get upset if I didn't guess correctly on whether it's Gannon's location or what she was doing when her phone was off, those sorts of things.
What do you mean by guesses? And give examples of what you mean when you use the word guesses.
So, especially during this later part of the interview, when I was asking her about the blood, more than once, she would say that if I knew enough about this investigation, I should be able to say either where Gannon is or more details about what was going on that I couldn't guess too. So it was an effective way really for her to not answer my question and tell me that she knew things I didn't know.
Did that indicate to you fairly high intellect?
It did, and forward thinking, and that she knew that the questions that I was asking her would require a difficult answer. And so she was requiring the same out of me, something that was actually impossible for me to answer because I didn't know what she knew.
And as it relates to that, are you talking about Gannon's location at this particular time?
Yes.
Okay. Just after that portion of video where we were watching you asking her about the board with blood being found up in southern Douglas County, did you ask her, or I guess confront her with other pieces of evidence as well?
Yes.
All right. So the next section we're going to play is a shorter section. It's at 4 hours, 7 minutes and 13 seconds through 4 hours, 10 minutes and 13 seconds.
Do you know why I told you about that? I normally don't do this. Tell everybody all the evidence against them. Why do you think?
I don't know.
Because I think if you're to weigh this on, there's enough probable cause. A judge in Colorado Springs in El Paso has signed a probable cause warrant for first-degree murder. And all this evidence, and I'm telling you about the ones that I know about, and that's before you do, you know, all the phone stuff, et cetera, et cetera. And then versus you taking a chance that you're going to get off. It's
I'm not taking a chance for nothing because I didn't do anything, sir. Okay, sir.
If you say you didn't do anything, do you know what an innocent person would do? I have had plenty of innocent people sitting in your chair. You know what an innocent person would do? They would be freaking out.
No.
You are not freaking out.
Yeah, right. You think I haven't freaked out?
I heard
for,
you
like,
freak out on the
days?
phone one time.
Think I haven't freaked out for days? You can't judge the way I freak
No.
something out one way and another way.
I have had the wrong person in a room like this before.
Okay.
And trust me, if they had any idea who did it, they would tell me.
Okay, well,
That makes no sense.
I
And no
guess that's
jury
the
will
jury.
buy, no jury's gonna buy
okay.
that you sit here with an answer that somebody else took Gannon, that all this head wound and all this
Sir,
stuff happened in there. Do you think I don't know what I'm talking about?
sir, I never question anything.
Well, you must, because you're taking a huge chance, Letecia.
Sir, I'm not taking any chance
How are you not taking a
because
chance?
I know the man upstairs knows I did not do anything.
Well, he's not gonna be on the jury.
Okay. All right, we're not going to go there with that. We're not going to go
We're
there.
going to sensible people who we're going to present evidence in front of.
Let me tell you what. There's a higher power.
There
That
is.
higher power will make sure
I believe in the higher power as well.
I'm glad you did. That really makes me feel a lot better. It really does. I'm serious. You know,
But Letecia, this comes down to common sense.
I do have
And these prosecutors, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about who you're going to be sitting in front of.
Okay.
And if you're going to take a chance that they're not going to listen to all this evidence, all this blood, all these stories that you told about Gannon, and that you have the key to finding him and you don't do it, there's nobody else to prosecute.
Okay.
Why won't you go there?
What else am I going to say?
The easiest thing to tell me is the last time you saw Gannon.
I've already told you I did not hurt you.
But then what do I need to go through again the other things that might have happened to Gannon? Where did you gently place Gannon?
What?
I don't know how to phrase it.
What are you talking about?
I don't know, because I don't know where he is. If you want me to use a different verb or whatever, I'm struggling.
I've got it paused at 4 hours, 10 minutes and 13 seconds. Why have you shifted tactics here to trying to now find Gannon's location as to getting descriptions of what happened to him?
Well, she seems to be more reluctant to answer questions now. And she showed me with the particle board. She got upset when I said she threw it. And as I said earlier, she gets upset if I guess. So I tried different verbs like placing it, setting it, those sorts of things. And then she will settle back down. So that's why I'm trying different ways to get her to communicate to me any other clue that might have happened with Gannon. So I'm just trying yet a different tactic again.
Including clues potentially towards his location?
Yes.
Okay. When you go down this particular path of talking about last place that she may have seen Gannon, did she give you any keys that helped find Gannon?
No. And I had already asked her in the previous section who the last person was with Gannon, since she was saying it wasn't her. We had been through the angel routine, and then I was trying to see if she would push it to anybody else, and she's not. So since she's not pushing it to anybody else, she's basically saying it's her. So I just want her to say where she last saw him, whether it was in the house, whether it was at the Petco, whether it was at Palmer Lake, to give us some sort of clue of her last sighting of him.
You made a statement in that section that you don't normally tell people that you're interviewing about all of the evidence. One, why do you not typically do that?
We don't typically do that because we don't want the defendant or whoever we're in front of to testify falsely to something in case we give them too much evidence and then they say something they didn't do. Also, we don't want them to know what we know because I want their statement to be pure in that they're not just repeating what I say. With this interview, we had gone far enough to where we would do something called the collaborative interview, to where we bring the person in with us and we share as much as we can to try to get them to collaborate and cooperate with us, since I'm working towards a solution and I'm trying to bring her in almost as an investigator to help me find out what happened to Gannon. So the more facts that I introduce to her slowly, I'm hoping that she'll start cooperating with me.
So you anticipated my follow-up question is, why were you doing that in this case? But you just answered that. As this discussion sort of develops, does she then talk about faith in God and that kind of thing?
She does.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and play that. It's basically from this point forward to 4 hours, 14 minutes and 6 seconds.
Letecia, this is all about you. You're the one caught up in it, though. You're the one with all the evidence stacked against you.
Well,
Help yourself right now.
I thought.
Why would you not?
How did I do that?
Tell me what happened.
So what happened? Well, I don't know.
The way you
Well,
described,
stand up for a moment.
absolutely. The wounds that you described to him don't even come close to the blood in the
then
house.
if that's what you think, then
No, it's not.
Okay.
This is what people that do this for a living tell me.
Okay.
Again, I wasn't there, but a little gash on his head
Okay. Sir.
doesn't explain at all that stuff that's in there.
Okay.
But do you want to go with that? Because when you walk out of here, the last thing on record you're going to have is what you told me. And I would love to be your storyteller.
Okay.
I would love to tell the true story. It will help you. You believe in that higher power you
Oh, I do. That's why. You
What
want to know
about the
why?
truth? Do you study the truth?
You want to know why I'm not sitting here like going crazy, freaking out, putting on an emotional show like I've seen people involved in this situation put on fake cries and all that? Because I know God knows.
Okay.
I mean,
But what about the truth? You study the same Bible, the same God. It tells a lot about truth in there, and you have not told many truths in this whole thing.
well, I don't know that. Guess what? But let me tell you what happened this morning when I woke up. When I woke up this morning, I watched a story about Ron Miller. So he started this show. He ended up like getting talked down to, bullied online, treated like crap, accused of things he didn't do. And that's where he went to the accusation part. And so he went down this whole trail talking about how accusation, how this did to him, what he had to go through, and all that.
Okay.
But in the end, he kept his faith in Jesus Christ. You know about the story of Paul, you know about Saul in the Bible. Okay, I can walk you through a lot in the Bible. If you know what I'm talking about. So he turned those accusations into just keeping steadfast and staying strong, and to believing God's going to do this and keeping whatever. Because, you know, in the Bible, they persecuted a lot of Christians, right? A lot of them for things they didn't do right. But, you know, there's a lot of stories where God made sure they were okay. So when I woke up this morning, I literally decided, God, you can take this, and you can either A, bring Gideon home, bring him to the front step, drop him off, so that I can please never have to worry about this again.
Right.
Or you can let me stay focused on believing in you, as in him, and just the truth will come out. And it's okay, because I don't want to sit here and accuse all these people of whatever. I'm not going to turn those same accusations against them for saying this and saying that, not believing this, not believing that. I'm just going to just sit there and say, I know I did not hurt Keaton.
But that, I get,
So I've got it paused at 4 hours, 14 minutes and 6 seconds. Did you go on from this basically to then try to get her to tell you more details about when she last saw Gannon?
Yes.
All right, so we're going to jump to that section at 4 hours, 17 minutes and 18 seconds. And we will play through 4 hours, 20 minutes and 3 seconds.
go a different way. If you did something bad to Gannon.
I did not.
I'm saying we go if. If you did something bad to Gannon, could you ever admit it?
I'm not going to go.
This is not a trick.
But I'm not going to go answer that question, because I did not do anything bad.
The reason why I ask you that is the people that I've worked with are actually put in prison for life. I've told them, and I've told people, the families of these victims, I said, if you put Harold in a room and you take everybody else out, we have absolute evidence that he pushed his wife off a cliff and that he dropped a car on his little wife, and he was convicted. I said, even if you clear everybody out and you just have Harold in a mirror, Harold was a God follower, Christian like you are, but he could never admit that he did that to either wife.
Well, I'm sorry that, what's his name, Harold? Harold is that type of person, because a God follower, I'm not judging him, I'm saying, in order for you, you have to repent your sins to God, okay? And you have to put yourself there. And in order to repent yourself your sins to God, it means also you have to lay them all down on the cross. And like, my sins are laid down. It is not involving hurting, harming, killing you. So I'm sorry that Harold or whatever his name is has like a different approach.
Well, I think you have probably a more serious problem than Harold does. You know where an 11-year-old is, and I am here telling you we could go find him, and you are not giving us his location, alive or dead. So what Harold did was push a 50-year-old woman off the cliff. It was an awful thing, and the parents hated losing Tony. But Tony had lived a full life, as full as you can till 50. It was still tragic. Gannon's 11. Gannon-
But it doesn't matter age, yeah, you're right. It's tragic, right?
Yeah,
You just said
and
that.
if you had the answer, you would give it to us.
I don't know where he is.
But you won't answer my question about the last time you saw him.
Listen, sir, anything I say to you, you're not going to listen to me. You're going to take.
I'm not going to twist things, Letecia.
To be honest with you, I can give you speculation.
Okay, give me
with everyone else.
speculation. Please.
I can give you
I'll take
speculation.
speculation.
Speculation is getting inside. Speculation is being with someone who is not willing to hurt him until they get something they want.
Why wouldn't they make a demand then? Why would they hold an 11-year-old kid? That's more sadistic.
So as we talked about, we stopped it at 4 hours, 20 minutes and 3 seconds. Why did you start this section out with, asking, could she admit it? What was in your mind when you asked that question?
When it's a familial matter and someone that you really care about is the person that you've harmed. I haven't yet had someone who's admitted to me that they were responsible for that harm or homicide.
And so that's why you're asking that particular question?
Yes.
Okay. And then does it devolve back into now he's been kidnapped by some group?
Yes.
All right. Did you then confront her again about the blood on the wall?
Yes,
Does she bring up a miscarriage that she apparently had sometime prior?
she does.
All right, let's watch that section. It starts at 4 hours, 21 minutes and 47 seconds and goes through 4 hours, 23 minutes and 47 seconds.
And Your Honor, could Mr. Allen and I
All right.
All right.
Mr. Allen?
Yes, thank you, Judge. Picking up from where we left off, we were going to jump to the confrontation about blood on the wall and being compared to a miscarriage, and it's going to jump to 4 hours, 21 minutes, and 47 seconds. And we will play through 4 hours, 23 minutes, and 47 seconds. So exactly 2 minutes worth of video.
You have nothing to do with farming Gannon. Why would you clean up the blood that's on the wall?
So you're saying you've never had anything happen in your house and you cleaned it up? Never. Like, you've never had, like...
Why would you cut out the carpet?
Nosebleeds. The carpet?
Mm-hmm.
Because I was going to get more carpet. It doesn't... The carpet has nothing to do with cutting it out. It's getting smell. It stunk. I couldn't breathe. None of us could breathe.
Did you say that Lena helped you clean up some of the blood on the wall?
Lena always helps us clean up everything. Lena helped us clean up the light switch. Lena helped us clean up when Gannon had a nosebleed. Okay?
But for this occasion, she helped with that.
Now you're going to walk me back through what we've already talked about. So you're now going to go be like, oh, an 8-year-old this and an 8-year-old that. Come on. There was all the time. Gannon was bleeding all the time. He'd have a nosebleed randomly at the drop of a dime. He'd bite his fingers, bleed all the time.
Would it help if I gave you a picture of the wall of what all showed up on it?
Sir, that's not going to get me to say anything to you because I didn't do anything.
Well, what I'm trying to appeal to, though, is, again, you weighing your options right now before we're gone.
Sir,
Because you're taking a big risk, Letecia.
sir, I believe in higher power. And that higher power is going to show the entire world. And when it does, I would never have to work a day in my life again. And that's going to happen. Guaranteed. Because I did not hurt, I did not dispose, kill, whatever you want to call these things that you're going to name out as verbs.
So why did you confront her with the blood cleanup and, for instance, the carpet cutout?
We had talked about it before, but this is what I'm left with to speak with her about, is the evidence in the case to see if she'll move from where she was.
Were you trying to give her an opening to give you more details?
Yes, and I don't remember if I had brought up before Lana's participation in this, but I wanted to see.
Lena, you mean?
Yeah, Lana's participation, and to see how she would react to that.
Again, is it consistent throughout the interview that she would resist those opportunities when it related to the specifics of the crime itself?
Yes, and again, she said she sees the pathway where these questions would be going, and she says she's not going to go there.
Appreciating where you want to get to.
Correct.
From your perception, was that logical thought process?
Very.
Shortly after this portion of the video, do you confront her with trying to get information about, hey, there's a boy out there. Help me find him. Help me get him home.
Yes.
Let's jump to that section. 4 hours, 24 minutes, and 29 seconds. And we will play through 4 hours, 32 minutes, and 50 seconds. So about 8 minutes. Judge, I'm not sure if you want to allow Mr. Grusing to step down during this 8-minute portion.
Thanks.
So starting it at 4 hours, 24 minutes, and 29 seconds.
And about why would you act like this when there's a boy out there?
I want women home.
Then tell me how to do it.
I want to help you. I don't know. I don't.
But see, that's where easy questions should be easy to answer.
I just said I don't know. That's an easy answer.
The easy answer is tell me the very last time you laid eyes on him. Where was he? Was he laying down? Was he standing up? Was he sitting? Was he walking to a car? Where was Give me your very last image of Gannon. That's an easy question. You have to remember your last image of Gannon. Letecia. What was he doing? Why would you not answer that?
Because I've given it to you.
No, you haven't told me exactly what you saw when you saw him for the very last time. Did you see the back of his head? Did you see his face? What was his expression? Did he say goodbye to you? Tell me of your last, you know, I wish I could see in your head right now. Your very last image is there, but you won't tell me. Why won't you tell me?
Because it's nothing bad to
Well, then
you.
tell me. If it's nothing bad, you would tell me. Image of Gannon.
I don't
Please.
have any bad images
I
again.
didn't say it was bad.
I don't have any.
What's the very last picture of seeing Gannon alive or not alive that you have in your brain?
He is alive. I'm not
Then
going to say
tell me the last time you saw him. What did you see? Letecia, like you said earlier.
Okay.
Being a good person, you didn't hurt him, you didn't do all this. I'm repeating it back to you. Why could you not tell me then? If all that is true, you know the last time you saw him. What would that hurt to tell me? Do you kind of think?
No, I don't.
Well, then tell me.
I don't need any kinds of.
What is wrong with that question?
There's nothing wrong with the question. I've already made it clear that I wasn't going to answer more questions
You've never answered this one.
because you have already predetermined what you want in your brain along with everyone else.
Why do you care about what's in my brain?
So you just asked me about mine.
Yeah, because your brain's the only one that counts here. It doesn't matter what's in my brain. The very last time you saw Gannon, where was he? What was he doing?
Did y'all put a reward out?
There's no need to clear it. Can you please answer that?
So you automatically have a predetermined thing in your brain.
If you give me something else, I'll go
Yeah,
there.
no, wow.
Why do you care about my brain, Letecia? Yours is the one that matters. What's the last thing you
Let me tell you
saw?
one more time. It did not hurt.
I didn't ask
harm,
that. I did not
anything
ask
wrong.
that. I don't care. What is the last
I
image
mean,
you have?
Checked all these places I've been.
Why don't you answer that question?
Why don't you
I'm just
answer me?
curious.
Have you checked all these places I've been and where was Gannon? Was he there? Doesn't that have to like sneak it in the brain for a little bit to say?
You're going to live with it for the rest of your life, Letecia. Why don't you tell me today?
I'm not living with anything horrible in my brain. I'm not.
Okay, well then it should be an easy question.
I've given you the answer.
Of the last time you saw him? No, you haven't. But I'm afraid it's not the image that you want to be left with.
What? Sir, that's not going to convince me to say something that I didn't
Okay,
do.
then maybe it is the image. Then tell me. Why else would you not tell me?
Because you keep going with the same question, and if you've already
And you won't answer it.
but you predetermined yourself.
No.
When I thought you were going to help, that was different. But you predetermined yourself.
You didn't
what
tell
to
me
say.
what the last thing you saw was, even with your answer there. And that's fine. If you want to tell me the thing with Angel, I
I'm not
don't
going to
care.
say anything other than saying, it will stop everyone. But I will promise you, I won't have to worry about nothing the rest of my life because I didn't do it. This
But
one-
you did. What's going to come out? That you didn't tell the FBI who took Gannon, if that's your deal? How is that going to shock everybody?
Okay. Okay, sir. Okay.
I didn't think you were guilty until you don't answer the last time you saw him.
Sir,
I
you
have-
came in this
listen.
morning
No, I did not.
and you automatically thought that. You automatically thought that already.
I was willing to listen if you were going to give me evidence to the contrary. But I have talked to many people who have seen someone disappear It never goes away. That last image.
Oh, well.
It
you
never
know,
goes away, and you've got it in your mind, and you won't tell me.
Right,
There's only one reason you won't tell me.
you're right. People do have, when people do bad things, their images stay in their brain. You're right.
Bad or good. So a lot of these dads didn't know when the last time they were going to see their daughter.
I mean,
And they still remember it like it was yesterday, 14 years
oh
later.
yeah,
You remember the last time you saw Gannon.
yeah.
So tell me what you saw.
Nothing negative.
So tell me what you saw.
I saw nothing negative. I saw nothing again.
You're telling me nothing. You're saying nothing.
Okay.
Just tell me what you did see, the positive.
Winning. I'm fine. Winning.
Where was he? Was he standing?
You said, tell me what I see. I'm just going to tell you
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt.
how Gannon was.
Okay.
Okay. Gannon was fine. Gannon, nothing was wrong with him. Gannon was happy. Gannon is my favorite stepchild. My favorite. I know everybody says they have favorites and things like that, or they say not really necessarily favored or whatever, but he was.
Do you remember how we
He
talked earlier?
definitely is.
Remember how we
Always.
talked earlier about when I ask you a question and you go around?
I'm not answering that question.
You're
for you
saying, you're
because
giving me qualities of Gannon. You're not saying what
I'm
you
not-
saw.
I'm
You're
not
saying he's a
sure.
favorite stepson.
sure.
What did you see?
Yeah.
Was he standing or sitting?
I didn't do anything to Gannon.
I didn't say you did. I said your last memory.
Okay, well, I didn't do anything to Gannon. So,
Do you have it in your mind right now?
well,
Seeing him for the last time.
it's not going to be the last time. But
The last time you saw him. Do
it's
you
not
have
gonna be
that?
the last time.
Do you have that picture in your mind?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
I know you're really good at what you do. I appreciate that. I know that, but I didn't do this.
So why don't you tell me the answer to that question?
Because you
It's
want.
not-
Why would
I'm
I
not con-
answer questions for you?
But that is not a hard question to answer. I'm not saying did you kill him. I'm not saying did you put him in a forest. I'm not saying did you put him in a dumpster. This is just your last image. You've got to have it.
My images are happy life. That's what it will
That's not
always
what you
be.
see in your brain.
Okay. Well, now you know my brain.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
You have an image of the last time you saw Gannon.
Okay.
If you didn't hurt him, why won't you tell me?
I already told you I didn't hurt it.
I know, but if you didn't, why would that image be a problem for you?
I don't have a problem with anything.
Then tell me. I'm not accusing you of anything, Letecia. Just tell me the last time you saw him.
At the very beginning, I'm sorry.
Not up yet.
Oh.
You go ahead.
I'm going to ask the empty chair, Judge.
Okay.
The voice from behind me would have been interesting. Mr. Grusing, at the very beginning of this portion of the video, you start out with easy questions and easy answers. What was your purpose of that statement?
What do you mean? Easy questions, easy answers?
Well, easy questions should be easy to answer, basically.
Yeah, again, if she's saying that she's innocent of this, then the questions that I'm asking should be very easy for her to answer.
Did she give you any of these easy answers?
No.
Again, here, it appears that you're sort of pushing back when she's saying, well, what's in your mind? Did she appear to be throughout this entire interview preoccupied with what other people were thinking about her?
Yes, and that was consistent with the phone calls. And what I'm trying to keep her from doing is manipulating her answer to see what I want to hear. I just want to hear what she knows to be true.
This whole issue about did you all put out a reward, that kind of stuff. This entire section, was this another example of her deflecting away from the thrust of information you're trying to gather?
Yes.
Right after this, does she then actually challenge you about, are you going to find Gannon?
Yes.
All right, let's watch that portion. Basically, from this section on through 4 hours, 35 minutes and 56 seconds. So just a couple minutes. So if you're okay sitting there so I don't ask an empty chair questions.
This is an easy question compared to all the other ones we've done.
Oh,
Please.
Are you gonna find him?
Yes.
Well, I would rather spend our time doing that because I don't have him. I didn't do anything with him, to him, or hurt him.
Mhm.
And I appreciate all your work.
You
on
can
this
help us
again.
more than anybody on this planet. You can help me right now find Gannon. Let's start with the one question I asked you.
And I don't
Why?
trust anymore for you because
Well, just tell me why you don't want to answer that.
I've already, it doesn't matter. I can tell you I last saw Gannon when I went to the store this morning, and it could be legit true, and you would still be like, he was not in the store. I mean,
I will be able to tell if you say what he's wearing, or not even what he's wearing, how he was walking, you will remember this. And just you not answering it means you remember it.
no, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
Okay, well, I'm glad that you now are a psychologist.
No, behavior analysis.
Okay, good. I'm glad you have behavior analysis. Okay. I appreciate you having behavior. What else do you want me to say or do? I mean, what else?
You don't want to answer that one.
I don't want to tell you anything else because
Why?
I-
If it helps find Gannon, why would you not tell?
you already predetermined.
I didn't say you
What
heard him
you
or
think-
anything. I think you know where he is, though.
You already predetermined this. You have.
The scene does tell the story,
Okay, so
yes.
if that's your story, then I'm not going to keep saying anything because I know that is not the case. So if I keep saying anything to you, you're just going to keep blah, 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 blah about it. And I've been nothing but respectful to you. So I'm trying to remain respectful to you overall because I don't have any disrespect for you. I don't treat people like that. But putting me in a situation where I'm like saying to you, I cannot say anything else because you've expressed you predetermined what you think. You've already done that. So no matter what I say, I legit could take you right to Gannon and he would be standing there and you would still say to me, well, that's not him. Or you would say something else. Just
Do you know how good that would be for you?
Oh, trust me. Yes.
Then why do you care what I
You know
think?
how good that would be for me? Absolutely.
Why do you care what I think? You should not care at all what I think. You said I wouldn't think. If you could take us to Gannon right now, that
So this idea where she's saying she doesn't have him, did you later learn that that was actually a true statement?
Yes,
Because of where Gannon was ultimately found?
correct.
Later on in this interview, did you confront her with her ability to dodge questions and spin stories?
Yes.
All right, let's jump to that section at 4 hours and 39 minutes and 33 seconds. Bless you. And we will play through 4 hours and 46 minutes and 21 seconds. So about 7 minutes if he's allowed to come down, Judge.
Up to him.
I think I can handle it this time.
Okay.
you've got away with spinning stories and dodging questions your whole life.
Because now you know me my whole life.
I can look back a little bit. I don't know you when you were 5 or 13 or 16. But I think something bad happened and you've been able to avoid trouble. But that doesn't happen in this case.
Okay, sir.
These stories that you told are much worse for you than if you had just said, the best thing you could have said is, Gannon just went and that's it. I'm not saying anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But you describing all these injuries to him, even to us today, is awful.
There's not injuries like that.
Yes, you talked about it. His head.
There's all the time. You raise children and they never got hurt. Like they never.
Not all on the last day they're seen alive.
Was. You're making it out to be like some whatever. That's not even how it was.
Tell me how it was then.
Gannon and I are very close. Okay?
But see, that's what you don't do. You say generalizations when I ask you, how was it? And
why? I don't even know what you're asking me.
the injury that caused that pool in the corner. It's not a little scratch on his
Okay, why
head.
don't you test it and see what day it came from? If that's what you're telling me, why don't you test it and see what day?
Oh, it didn't happen on Monday.
No, I'm
It happened on
asking you.
Saturday.
I'm asking you. You are the one who are telling me, no matter what I say, you're telling me it's your way or no way. So why don't you tell me?
Well, I'm saying it's a significant enough injury that he was not going to be normal after that.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
That's what they told me.
Okay, well, that is awful that people aren't normal after anything like that.
It's a significant
Because I had
injury.
puddles of blood. Remember that I had
We're not
puddles of
talking
blood
about you. We're talking
I
about
know.
11.
that I did, and there was no significant injury that I died.
Do you not find that coincidental?
Right.
The
What?
blood on the wall and by his bed.
The
and on
blood,
mattress.
the blood that you or your team allowed people to be in the house.
That has no
Okay.
bearing on it.
Okay, well, if it doesn't, then okay.
It doesn't.
Okay, so, okay. Maybe check one of them.
You ready to tell me that?
Maybe check one of them. Because
I bet you they can tell me the last time they saw Gannon, even though it was
that's not
months
the
before.
question.
I bet Al can tell you the last time he saw Gannon, even though he didn't know that was going to be the last time. I guarantee you he's got an image of Gannon. You were the last one with Letecia.
Okay.
What do I need to say to help you? I'm serious.
You do not want to help me.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't. You want me to tell you what you want to hear. That's what you want.
No,
Yes.
I have never wanted people to tell me what I want to hear. If it doesn't lead me to finding Gannon or the truth of this matter, I could care less what it is. Like I said, most of the time, I'm wrong. I have to have people like you tell me the truth. You didn't have anything to hide. You tell me your last
Don't
image of me.
have anything to hide.
Then tell me. That's not a guilt or innocence question. Just your last image of Gannon. Okay, now you don't have to tell me the last time you saw him, just your last image in your head.
Hmm.
What's the last image in your head you have of him? No? Or was he?
Yeah, you said that's image. That's the
I mean,
image.
was he sitting? Was he standing? Is he laying down? What's he doing?
Walking
Towards you or away from you?
away.
Do you have any questions for me?
Hmm?
Any questions for me? No, that's for me. Have I not asked you a question that I should be asking you? Anything? I don't have the answers to this. No, feelings that I can't talk about right now. Right, you understand
Yeah.
that? Anything?
Something.
Is there anything I need to ask you that I haven't?
Mhm.
Just be it, I don't think there's anything.
I'm gonna see the bathroom.
Sure.
Well,
Let's pause now at 4 hours, 46 minutes and 21 seconds. As to when you both leave the room and are off camera, what happened outside in the hallway?
I believe she went to the bathroom.
Do you then come back into the room with her?
We might have opened the door, but I don't think we do any more interviews in this room.
Okay. Why'd you go down this path of confronting her with dodging questions and spinning stories?
We had talked about it before, and she had told me that she has done that in the past, as far as talking in circles, dodging questions, and I just wanted to bring that back around. Something that she had told me to see if we could go straight forward just once with this last image question I had.
Did she ever give you a straightforward answer to the last image in her head?
No,
Throughout this long interview, did she exhibit that same sort of trait of dodging questions or spinning stories?
yes,
That's appeared to you in your perception to be a calculated move on her part.
yes,
Your final contact with her is back in this room and it starts at 4:47:43 and then goes through 4:49:17. We'll jump to that now.
Too sure. Again, like I said, you're gonna have to go to, whatever jail that holds you in. Colorado's got the warrant, so they're gonna transport you.
Okay.
You have anything else for me? I think we've talked a lot today, but if you have something you want to say, I'll sit here for another 4 hours.
Well, where's the one?
The warrant's in the system. It's in the, NCIC is what they call it. That's what they picked you up on today, was the arrest warrant.
Okay.
So you're gonna be going back there. Anything else? First degree murder for Gannon's death. That's what I was trying to come in here with you to help you. If we find Gannon, that makes a big difference. We'll let you go. If he's alive, you might as well try it. I can't speak for the district attorney. I'm not an attorney. I'm an investigator. If he's alive and you can get us Gannon, yes. Good things will happen to you today versus getting shipped back to Colorado.
I'm gonna talk to you about that.
So we're now at the end of that recorded interview, essentially. Is she trying to have another off-camera discussion with you?
yes,
Did you in fact have a short discussion with her off-camera?
yes.
What happened in that discussion?
Right outside the door, we now had police officers waiting to transport. So there were probably 4 or 5 law enforcement around us. And she said something in a small voice about North Carolina that I couldn't hear. And I asked her to repeat it. And she said that she and I should go to North Carolina. And I asked her, is Gannon in North Carolina? And she didn't answer.
Was that basically the extent of that interaction?
Yes, what I recall.
Okay. In looking back at your, even your recorded phone calls that we've heard throughout this trial and in this long interview, are there any, I guess, regrets that you have as to your approaches, ways that you may have been able to get more information about what happened again?
She brought up Quincy Brown to me, I think within an hour or so of our interview. And then she said something to the effect of, if I wasn't going to talk about that, then it wasn't any use going forward. And in looking at the phone calls with Al, that's where she described most of Gannon's injuries, or a lot of them. And looking back and playing it through, maybe I should have gone more down the Quincy Brown angle to see if she would have been willing to disclose more things. That's the only thing I can think of.
The short portions that we didn't play through your direct examination here, were there any surprises in those portions that are different from the stuff that we saw in the video that we did watch?
No.
Did she act consistently in those portions to what we saw here?
Yes.
You, in two different sections that we watched, you delved into mental health questions. Do you remember those?
Yes.
Throughout all of your interaction with her, both through those recorded phone calls and in this interview, did she ever express any history with severe mental health issues, diseases, defects, anything like that?
She did not.
Did she ever talk about sexual abuse that she allegedly suffered as a child?
No.
Did she ever point to specific people in her life, family, that she alleged carried out sexual abuse against her?
No.
Did she ever give you any descriptions of any commitments to hospitals?
No.
Did she appear to understand the gravity of the situation when you were talking with her, that this is a first-degree murder charge?
Very well.
In what ways were you able to develop that idea?
Well, as I said earlier, she's able to see where different lines of questioning go and what would be damaging for her to answer truthfully. So, whether we're talking about evidence in the case or what happened to Gannon or her role or involvement, she stops that line of questioning before it goes down something that would be damning towards her in testimony.
So are you saying resisting giving more incriminating statements about the crime itself?
Correct.
Did that appear to be a calculated move on her part?
Yes.
Throughout your entire interaction with her, both through the consensual recorded phone calls and this long interview, did you ever observe her to change personalities?
No.
Did she ever talk in a Spanish accent?
No.
Did she ever demand to be called any other names besides the name that you knew her as?
No.
Did she ever use the name Taylor,
No.
Jasmine,
No.
Harmony,
No.
Christina,
No.
Little Lucia,
No.
Maria Sanchez?
No.
May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
You may.
And that's all I have. I just need to disconnect this computer from here so that Mr. Cook
Right.
has a clean podium.
Okay.
And you can, I was going to say, turn off the screen if you'd like.
Mr. Cook, cross-examination.
Thank you. Mr. Grusing, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Good. Thank you.
So how long did you work for the FBI?
A few months short of 25 years.
25 years. Were you always in the Colorado office, or were you like a lot of other agents early in your career, you were in different states?
Always Colorado.
Always. Okay. And at one point near the end of the interview, Miss Stauch referred to you as something and you corrected herself. You corrected her and said you're a behavior analysis.
She said something like, I'm a psychologist.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I'm in behavior analysis.
Okay. And is that generally what you did throughout the majority of your career?
No.
Okay. What else were your other assignments? And I know you already told Mr. Allen this, but I have to hear things a few times before they sink.
No worries. So I was a special agent, and I was assigned to the criminal side for the FBI. There's a terrorism side or counterintelligence and a criminal side. And for my last 23 years, I was a criminal agent for them. So I was never a supervisor, it would be similar to being a detective for a local police department.
Okay. Now, you told Ms. Stauch during the interview that you had been contacted by the main office for the FBI and told to go do this interview with her in South Carolina. Is that correct?
Yes, I think I told her, I was asked by the Colorado Springs office to come investigate initially and then also to go out to South Carolina.
Okay. Whose decision was it to you be the one that goes in and does this almost 5-hour interview?
I think it was up in the air early, whether it would be El Paso investigator and myself or just myself. And I don't remember how it came just to be me, but it ended up just being me.
Okay. And have you done a lot of these interviews over your career?
Yes.
Now, before we got into the audio videotape interview, we were listening to some additional phone calls with Gannon's father and Miss Stauch.
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall in one of these interviews, it looks like it was February 19th, 2020. It began about 12:10 p.m. Do you recall that interview that was recorded?
Yes, briefly.
Okay. And were you there for that one?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember at the end of that conversation, it said, Letecia said that her guess would be that Gannon was not in Colorado. When asked how she knew, she said, quote, because Tisha didn't hurt him, didn't dispose of him or anything like that, okay? It goes on, so Tisha was in Colorado with nothing, and you guys have run up all these places where y'all think I did or whatever. You haven't found Gannon. Do you recall her at one point referring to herself as Tisha?
I do.
Okay. Now, generally, somebody in that conversation would say I. But in this situation, she's referring to herself in the third person?
Correct.
Okay. Did you find that a little bit off?
Not really.
Okay. Well, what if I started questioning you right here instead of saying, I've got a couple questions for you, Mr. Grusing? What if I said, Mr. Cook has a couple questions for you, Mr. Grusing? Mr. Cook would like to proceed. Would that be a little bit off?
It depends on who you are and how well I knew you.
So it'd be kind of strange if I was up here cross-examining you and I was using the third person to refer to myself.
It would be unusual, yes.
Mr. Cook has some more questions for you.
Sounds good.
Couldn't help it. Now, with respect to the Google searches we talked about, or you talked about with Letecia, I don't like my stepson, you recall those and
I do.
discussing that with Mr. Allen. Were you able to pull up the content that was retrieved during these searches, or what is the scope of what information you were able to pull up in this metadata or whatever it is?
So yeah, I was quite a bit removed from that. We had a computer specialist that was looking into her phone and would send us sanitized results.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't see what the kickback was or
That's correct.
or anything. You just could see the search. Okay. And you don't know when these searches were made.
I don't.
Okay, and that's not because you didn't look, it's just because that information was not saved.
Yeah, I was told they didn't know you're talking about when her actual search happened on her phone?
Yeah, when she, Googled in, I don't like my stepson, what do I do about it? Like if that was in 2018 or was it,
Correct. Yeah, it was no timestamp date was given to me for those searches.
Okay. So some of these searches could have been January 27th of 2020, and some of them could have been in 2018, or some of them could have been actually after January 27th.
Correct.
But before the phone was seized.
Yes.
Okay. Are you aware of any searches coming back saying, what do I do if I don't like my stepson? And the answer being, stab him 17 times, plunge and force, strike him 4 times in the head and shoot him in the head?
No.
That'd be some pretty bad advice, wouldn't it?
That would not be good advice. You're right.
Now, sometimes, how many different stories did Miss Stauch tell? I hear at one point you said you were asking her on the video, and told her that she's told you about 7 different stories. Do you recall that?
Yeah, I think I was throwing out an approximate number.
Okay. And then Mr. Allen asked you one time, and he said you can't even count how many stories she gave.
Yes, because he brought up variations of stories, which would legitimately count as another story. So,
Okay.
yeah.
But we're not talking about an infinite number of stories. I mean, you could go back and
Correct.
Basically,
We
there
could count
was-
them up.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there were, between 5 and 10 main theme stories we're dealing with.
That sounds correct.
And one interview, something may change a little bit, but there was 5 to 10 main theme stories.
Sounds right.
Okay. Now, during some of the interviews, Miss Stauch or Letecia, she seemed like she made a lot of eye contact, was pretty engaged near the beginning. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. And then there was a part for about 30 minutes or so in the middle where she didn't even look up. She hung her head the whole time. Do you recall that part?
Yes.
And her voice was a lot lower. You could hardly even hear her. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Is almost 5 hours a long time to be in an interview room like that?
It just depends on the situation.
What was your goal when you went into this interview room with Letecia? Was it to find out what Gannon was? Was it to get a confession to be used to prosecute her later? Both? I mean, what was the actual game plan when you went in?
Yeah, probably both. I would say primarily is to find what happened to Gannon. And as she had spoken with Al on the phone, that she had given hints or clues. And even if we were to get some of those, that would be worth the 5 hours.
And would you say that you came away from this interview as far as getting the confession and being able to find Gannon more or less empty-handed?
It went about as I expected it would.
And you weren't able to get enough information or any information out to be able to locate Gannon?
That's correct.
Can I have just a second, Your Honor?
Me?
I think that's all I have. Thank you.
You
Thank you,
ready?
Mr. Grusing.
Thank you.
Mr. Grusing, you were asked about the references that the defendant used third person to say her name.
Yes,
Have you been around other people who are self-absorbed who also talk about themselves in the third person?
I have.
Does that indicate in your mind any concerns about mental health capacity?
No,
Did that cause you any concern about this defendant as to her mental health capacity?
it did not.
Did it indicate in your mind that she was exhibiting a separate personality
No,
or acting as a separate person?
no.
You were asked about the demeanor change of the defendant in the interview, where in the beginning she's making lots of eye contact, perhaps even almost flirting with you. How would you attribute her demeanor at the beginning?
Conversational, I would even say hopeful on her part that she might be able to provide me with a story that I might take away.
Potentially hoping to manipulate your involvement in the investigation.
Leading.
Yes, sustained, you can rephrase.
Sure. Any other indicators for you as to what she may have been trying to get done there?
Yes, as I told her throughout, she was more concerned about what I was thinking than telling me what was happening. And she continued to do that throughout the interview, and I continued to admonish her to just tell me what she knew, not what she thought I was thinking.
Okay. You were asked at the very end of the cross-examination, did you come out empty-handed in this interview? Did you actually get useful information out of this interview?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury what useful information you got out of it?
Well, Letecia continued to exhibit no concern for Gannon as she did in the phone calls with Al. Anytime I would try to speak with her about Gannon, an 11-year-old being missing, however I could phrase that, she would turn it back around to herself. Even at the end, she was saying about, instead of him being found, it's her being exonerated and people would be sorry. Everything focused around her. And that's why her referencing her in the third person was not a surprising thing to me. As far as coming out empty-handed, her not being able to articulate a last image of Gannon was very indicative that image was awful. And I told her that multiple times. So to me, I didn't come away with a confession, but I came away with more of a certainty that something really bad had happened to Gannon and that she had witnessed it. As you saw, I probably asked her 30 times, maybe more, about her last image and gave her multiple outs. And the other thing that she kept not wanting to accept is that this was an accident. And normally in a case like this, a person who has last been with a loved one, whether it's accident or something homicidal, they will accept accident, and she would not accept that.
And then what about demonstrating her ability to recall? Were you able to develop that as well?
Her ability to recall,
Information.
yes, anything that was not inculpatory towards the disappearance and homicide, she could recall easily. Dates, times, movements, homework, those sorts of things. It was pretty easy for her to articulate those.
Was it your perception that she was refusing to recall data as to what actually happened to Gannon?
Yes.
Was that helpful towards the investigation?
Yes.
Were you able to develop information about her intellect, her ability to communicate and that sort of thing?
Yes.
And why is that helpful towards the investigation?
That she is a articulate, intelligent, perceptive, and intuitive person. And that also helped her evade law enforcement while we as a team were trying to find out what happened to Gannon. while she was even still in Colorado. So just seeing her organized thought patterns there and how adept she was at shifting and deceiving and using some sort of alternative mechanism, it showed us that she was able to carry out what we thought she was able to carry out, and that is hide Gannon when there were multiple people looking for him.
What about the, her lack of any prior mental health concerns? Was that helpful towards the investigation?
Yes,
Why?
because we saw that she knew what she was doing. And we saw that even in her own words, she made this a 3-day ordeal, saying it started on Saturday, it went through Sunday, and there was all sorts of planning and premeditation involved, whether it's the call in to the school or not using her phone, using Gannon's phone. She explained to us that this was a prolonged event.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Do any of the jurors have any questions for Mr. Grusing? Looks like we have one. Just write it down, pass it forward. Just one. Okay. Council approach, please. Back to this case. With that, if I can have everyone ready to go at 10:35, we should be able to start at that time. All rise for the jury, please. Thank you. May all be seated. Record should reflect the jury has left the courtroom. Is there anything we need to take up outside the presence of the jury at this point in time?
No, Judge. What time did you say to come back?
10:35. Defense, anything from defense? Mr.
Yes.
Salini or Mr. Cook?
Nothing else.
Okay, we'll be in recess. Thank you.
All right.
Good morning, everybody. What on earth was the question? Why couldn't we hear it? That is bizarre. I absolutely adore that the jury can ask questions. I've never seen that before. And I've watched a lot of trials. All right, so now she's talking about being a Christian and God, and you know what? That always happens. You know, that is perfectly fine. But what really got me is when she said he was my favorite stepchild. He was. She wanted him to call her mom. She wanted to replace Landon in every facet of life. She was already Al's wife, but you know, Al had a wandering eye. He was looking a different direction. And crazy came to town. I wonder what her relationship was with Landon. Annette, no sound for question. What did they ask? That's what I want to know as well. Something I guess we can't hear. But I love this special agent, and I like how he is with her, and I like how he's turning the heat up, but yet he's still keeping his composure. Because if it was me, I would be in jail for having my hands around her neck, just saying, you know everything. Why? He keeps saying to her, why don't you make this easier on yourself? Why can't you do that? JM said, if they cheat with you, they'll cheat on you. And that is true. Slim said, get the phone book. Yeah. Lawrence Fishburne style. Do it. 1980s interrogations. So once the focus was turned off of her, which in Letecia's world, she's got to keep everything on a big level. She sets the bar high. And in all of that, she's either the hero or the victim. It's either poor Letecia, look what happened to her, or it's, oh, thank you, Letecia. There's never any in between. Wiz said, is it a hate crime to hate someone like her? Nope. Hate all you want. Hate all you want. And most people crack in interrogations. They do. But on this channel, we talk about the few and far between. So I did see a comment and here someone said, why don't they do that to Candace Wells? They did. Not everyone can be cracked in an interrogation. Letecia couldn't. As she's sitting there, she knows exactly what she did to Gannon. She knows exactly where Gannon was. She knows. She knows she toted him around for 8 days in a suitcase and put him under a bridge in Florida. She knows that. Oh, it's just disgusting. Just disgusting. All right, let's find something to take our mind off.
Wherever evil falls his way, in the heat of battle, only one remains. In the final hour, when you hear the call, courage to give your all. Stand or fall.
The beat goes on. McDonald's beef goes on. Your big beef, pure beef, hot and lean. Oh, the beat goes on. You're 100% pure beef machine. Oh yeah, the beat goes on. From Big Mac to quarter pounder, lean and hot. Your big beef taste just won't stop. It's a good time for the great taste. For McDonald's, the beef goes on.
This Honda Civic has been held up as the best value in a four-door import. But now there's the 86 Colt DL. Same size engine, same front-wheel drive, same room for 5, but they're not the same. The Colt is less expensive by $870, flat. Colt, imported for Dodge and Plymouth, built by Mitsubishi in Japan. Colt, it's all the Japanese you need to know.
Shh, be very, very quiet. What's up, Doc? I'm hunting for the sharpest VCR picture. Then what are you doing over there? Sony Super Beta has a picture like real life. 20% sharper than the one that beat VHS. Pesky rabbit. And only Sony has this super special effects wheel. I'll give you a special effect, rabbit. Oh, sorry, Doc. Super Beta is sharper. Sony, the one and only.
Now a world of magic is in your hands.
Hey, stop!
Panasonic presents Omnimovie, a camera and video recorder in one. Capture magic moments forever.
Get a close-up, Joe.
Yeah. Omnimovie uses full-size VHS tapes, plays Hollywood movies or your own.
Here's right, Santa.
Don't miss a single Omnimovie magic moment from Panasonic, just slightly ahead of our time.
I cut my teeth on quality rock and roll too. That makes me a foghead.
Morning, I am here with Classic Rock. I'm K-Fog.
This is Scoop, and if you don't like the news, go out and make some of your own.
Here's your host for 10 at 10, Dave Morey.
A psychedelic supper.
Bonnie Simmons at the Supper House on K-Fog.
You have a remarkable mouth.
K-Fog's a remarkable radio station.
Away.
A seed, yet unborn, touched by nature's magic wand, becomes nourishment. My walk, a valley, ice and tastes cascading down. Luscious steam rises, deep brown soy splashing. A symphony of flavors plays the cook's love song. Letecia, nutrition, taste, simplicity. Tonight, we're Beatrice.
People are tough on their bathrooms, so they need something to clean them that's even tougher. That's why Heavy Duty Tough Act was invented. Tough Act cleans soap scum better than any other bathroom cleaner, and it scours without scratching. So although I'm abrasive, Tough Act isn't. Try Tough Act because no bathroom cleaner works better on soap scum than this.
Tough Act. It's a tough act to follow.
Even tougher than me.
There's a new dance called the pizza maker. Rolling out the door like the round table baker. Come on, everybody, go out your can. Mixing fresh sauce like the round table man. Don't need to fake it, don't need to change. Come on, everybody, we're ready for cheese.
Sea breeze cleans so deep you feel it.
Beautiful skin can be a breeze with sea breeze.
Deep clean, so clean it tingles.
Beautiful skin can be a breeze with sea breeze.
No other clean feels quite like this. From the people who brought you the menu dinners, something a little different. Elegant. Delicious. Prepared in the inimitable Le Menu style. New Le Menu entrees, elegant dishes that make a lunch, brunch, or any meal memorable, like Oriental-style chicken. New Le Menu entrees, lavish in taste without being lavish in size.
I don't know what I like best about Gorton's crunchy fish sticks and fillets, what goes into them or what doesn't. What goes into them is lots of mild, flaky white fish with a delicious crunch.
That's what I like, Mom.
What doesn't go into them is any preservatives, absolutely none.
Mom, can I have seconds?
With Gorton's, I really feel good about what they're eating and what they aren't.
Gorton's crunchy fish sticks and fillets. Absolutely no preservatives. And Mom, no leftovers.
Trust the Gorton's fishermen.
When it comes to cleaning the bathroom,
Let us do your dirty work.
so you can make a clean getaway. Now bathroom cleaner with scrubbing bubbles.
Let us do your dirty work. Oh, you ain't got this thing if you ain't got that thing. Oh, you ain't got a thing if you ain't got that cling.
Handy Wrap 2 with Cling Plus has twice as much cling as old Handy Wrap, so it seals in freshness and flavor longer.
Let yourself feel how splendid you are with a rich, expressive fragrance created by Gloria Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt. Let it release the splendor of you. Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt's gift of body shampoo, body spray, silk, and terry mid, free with any $11.50 Vanderbilt purchase at Macy's.
Another brand eater.
Yep.
Hope you're hungry. Because it takes 4 bowls of all brand to get the vitamin nutrition in 1 bowl of Total.
He's been brand washed.
Total's a good source of brand fiber. Total also has 100% of 9 vitamins and iron. It takes 4 bowls of many brand cereals to get that. You could eat 4 bowls of fruit and fiber, or one bowl of Total?
Think you missed the boat, Dad.
Total, one bowl, 100%.
Heath introduces a new soft and crunchy candy bar.
It's soft. It's crunchy.
Toffee tidbits covered with real milk chocolate. It's Heath's new soft and crunchy.
For a midday snack, you can't beat a Heath.
Heath's new soft and crunchy.
You can't beat a Heath.
I love the great taste of Heath, America's original toffee bar.
Rich English toffee covered with real milk chocolate.
For a quick pick-me-up, you can't beat a Heath.
America's original toffee bar.
You can't beat a Heath.
If you hate lines at the airport, skip them with advanced check-in from TWA.
Imagine just for a moment the future, a world where everything works. Oh, please. So perfect, even an inexpensive frozen entree could be prepared with astonishing skill.
How inexpensive?
Around $1.79. Introducing the Budget Gourmet, 12 expertly prepared new entrees, sirloin tips with country vegetables, linguine with bay shrimp and clams marinara, and more. New Budget Gourmet.
I have tasted the future. It's around $1.79.
Do you know me? This may seem puzzling, but you know me by sight and by sound. You know my TVs, my stereos. But to be really wired in, I carry the American Express card. As a chairman of Sony, I expect great reception.
To apply for the card, look for an application and take one.
The American Express card, don't leave home without it.
Next on News Center 4 Update, the voyage of terror continues in the Mediterranean. While some passengers wait on shore, there are conflicting reports about the fate of those still on board. Also, here in the Bay Area, don't plan on heading to the Coliseum to watch the Giants next season.
East Bay police are looking for suspects in a string of drive-by shootings. Striking Oakland Symphony members make their music on the streets, plus Mayor Feinstein gets into the movie business. All the news straight ahead tonight on Update at 11.
What do you know about cranberries?
I like Grusing frozen taste.
What do you know about cran apples?
More fresh fruit flavor than ever.
Good for you, tastes so good too. Cran apple.
The unique cranberry has essential things your body needs. So does Cran Apple, the better than ever cranberry apple drink.
Better tasted fresh fruit flavor.
Hey, spread it out!
Now with fresh fruit flavor.
It's good for you, America. From Ocean Spray.
Hey, round table.
The Lago Brothers.
You've been saying your pizza's better than ours.
At Round Table, we don't use canned pizza sauce. This arm is strong from mixing fresh sauce. At Round Table, we don't use frozen dough. And this hand is strong from kneading fresh dough. At Round Table Pizza, we don't use frozen cheese.
If he ate your lousy pizza, he'd have a strong stomach, too.
Round Table, one of the last honest pizzas.
Adventures of Ron Greenspan, Volkswagen Subaru.
I can't afford a new car. Save me, Ron Greenspan.
With my low prices and great selection, I'll save you. Now, for a limited time, save more than ever during our spectacular end-of-the-year sale. All prices drastically cut, the lowest prices in our history. Ron Greenspan, Vanish Avenue, San Francisco.
Believe it or not, I know what it's like to look much older than you are or feel. Because when I was in my 20s, my hair was just about gone. I'm Cy Sperling, president of Hair Club for Men. And it was my own search for the best possible hair replacement system that led me to start the company. So I know what men with thinning hair are concerned about, which is why we published this booklet that gives good, honest answers about all hair replacement techniques, not just our own strand-by-strand hair system. The booklet is free if you just call our toll-free number now. You know, the greatest concern a man has about hair replacement is, will he look natural? Well, I know one thing. In my business, my hair must always look totally natural, even as close up as this. So if you want to do something about your thinning hair, you owe it to yourself to call for our free booklet. Call now because, believe me, you really don't have to look older than you feel.
bringing them in off the range. Wanted, the free consumer information catalog from Pueblo, Colorado, 81009.
Is the mail here yet?
Are the free catalogs in from Pueblo?
Hold your horses, boys. There's just one left. But the new one will be here in the next mail. Any minute.
Yes, it's the free catalog from the Consumer Information Center of the U.S. government.
With more than 200 fact-filled federal publications, and many are free.
Well, looky here. It lists booklets on jobs, food and money, health, safety, exercise, even cars.
Cars?
And you don't have to get out of town to get them. It comes right to you.
Letecia Stauch record should reflect the jury's not present in the courtroom. Is there anything we need to take up outside the presence of the jury at this point in time? Prosecution?
No, Your Honor.
Defense?
No, sir.
All right. They just left it in their seats. Okay. Let's go ahead and bring the jury in.
It's actually 7. Change this.
Why?
All rise for the jury, please.
You guys figure it out. You do them first. Come on, please.
Everybody okay? Thank you. May all be seated. Court will recall 20 CR 1358, People versus Letecia Stauch. Record should reflect the jury is not present in the courtroom. Prosecution, call your next witness, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. We would call Special Agent David Donati. And while Mr. Donati is walking up to be sworn in, we've already put People's Exhibits 281 through 289 in the witness stand. They're photographs.
Okay. Sorry, Special Agent Donati, if you would raise your right hand, please, sir. Do you swear affirm the testimony that this man will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Go ahead and have a seat in the witness stand. Please watch your step as you step into the stand.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. Doing fine.
Thank you. Good. Will you please introduce yourself to the jury and then spell your name for the record?
My name is David Donati, spelled D as in David, O-N-A-T-I. I'm a special agent with the FBI.
How long have you been with the FBI?
For 12 years now.
What are your responsibilities with the FBI?
Well, I've worked in a lot of different places. Currently, I work in the Minneapolis division doing criminal investigations. I started off my career in Lander, Wyoming, which is an RA or resident agency on the Wind River Indian Reservation. I spent 3.5 years there, and then I came to Colorado Springs and spent about 5 years here.
What were the years that you were in Colorado Springs?
2015, probably from April 2015 to September of 2020.
All right. What kind of cases have you investigated?
I've done a multitude of things, everything mostly in the violent crime aspect, everything from bank robberies to missing persons, homicide investigations, kidnappings, bank robberies.
Okay. What kind of training do you have that allows you to be a FBI agent?
To be an FBI agent, you attend the New Agent Academy, which is about 20 weeks at Quantico, Virginia. There we learn a series of different things, everything from interviewing to collecting of evidence to all the other duties that a special agent does. I've also attended other training during my service with the FBI, which is helps you to be better at your job and continuing training as collecting evidence and interviewing people.
As it relates to the case that we're here for, how did you become involved in the investigation into Gannon Stauch's disappearance?
Early on in the investigation, we were contacted by the El Paso County Sheriff's Office about a missing juvenile, and they asked our office to assist. And at the time, I was assigned as the case agent to help with that assist.
Did you at some point assist removing some items from a VW Tiguan?
Yes, I believe that was on February 7th of 2020.
So let's talk about the Tiguan, at least as far as you knew it. Did you understand that to be associated with the defendant in the case?
Yes, I understood it to be the vehicle that that she owned and that she drove.
What were you tasked to do as it relates to that particular vehicle?
On that particular vehicle, I was tasked to assist. I had other people that helped me collect the what is called the telematics system from the vehicle. And that's several different components that has the ability to store data of the vehicle while it's being operated.
Specifically, what kind of data were you looking for or hoping to get out of the telematics?
Well, every vehicle is different. Every manufacturer is different. But we do know that these systems do store everything from dates and times to actual GPS coordinates. And some vehicles do also store things like when the vehicle was in motion, when the vehicle was stopped, different systems on the car running, things like that. So, like I said, depending on what that vehicle manufacturer and that data consisted of, it can tell you a lot. And some vehicles, it doesn't tell you much.
What does that process look like, removing the telematics from a vehicle?
So the telematics systems can be stored in several different places. There is items that are called the infotainment system, the electronic control modules that store this information. In this particular vehicle, there were 3 different items that we were looking for, and most of those are contained in the dash or under the dash somewhere.
Were you able to find those particular items for this particular vehicle on that February 7th date?
We did. We collected 3 different items from the vehicle, and that involved removing some sections of the dash to get to those.
Do you yourself then analyze those components to get this data that you're looking for or hoping to get?
No, that is then what I do is I collect those components as evidence. I enter them into our computer, and then I put them in FedEx shipping and ship them to Virginia, our headquarters, where the experts can then analyze the data.
Okay, is that what you did in this case?
I did.
So I want to direct your attention to the photographs that I put on the desk there in front of you. It should be People's Exhibits 281 through 289. Do you see those?
Yes, I do.
Will you please flip through those and then let me know when you're done looking at them?
I'm done.
Do you recognize those photographs?
I do.
What are they of generally?
So the photographs of the Volkswagen Tiguan that I believe to be owned and driven by the defendant, it was located in the El Paso County's vehicle bay where they store their evidence.
And are those photographs fair and accurate representations as to what you saw and in the removal process of this infotainment center?
Absolutely, yes. I actually took these photographs as we removed them from the vehicle.
All right. At this time, I'd move for admission and permission to publish 281 through 289.
Defense?
No objection.
281 through 289 will be admitted. Are you
Thank
good?
you. We're connected back over here now, Judge. In just a moment, we're going to be projecting 281 up behind you. And just as a housekeeping matter, there should be a pointer there in the witness box, and a telescoping pointer of some kind. You can either use that to point at the photograph itself, or you can just describe it by looking at the photo in front of you.
Okay.
Either one that you want to use. So we've got 281 up behind you. So let's look at the left side first. That's what looks like a shipping label. What is that?
That is exactly what you said. It's a FedEx shipping label where I package the items, use the FedEx computer system, and entered the information on where I wanted to send it to. And I believe the date on that was February 10th. If that, it's hard to see on the screen, but it's the shipping date.
And it's kind of awkward the way that we've got to do this. So if you stand up and, oops, go back, please. If you stand up and are talking about what's in the photograph, just make sure that our furthest jurors can hear you. The microphone doesn't pick it up very well.
Sorry about that. So this is the shipping label that I used, and I believe the date was February 10th when I shipped it out.
Is it typical to collect items and then ship them out a couple of days later?
It is. One, I have to enter everything into the computer. That document has to be signed by my supervisor before I get the numbers, which are our tracking, our evidence tracking ability. So sometimes that takes a day or 2 days. Then I can package it up and send it out for FedEx.
How is it stored in the meantime?
Our facility is a controlled storage for evidence collection.
Is there any opportunity for the data that's on these devices to be altered or changed while you're waiting that shipment process?
No, there's not.
Okay. And then on the right side of People's Exhibit 281, is that the vehicle?
Yes, this is the 2019 Volkswagen Tiguan that I believe the defendant to be driving.
Was that belief based off of information that you had gathered during the course of this investigation?
It was.
Right. 282? What's in 282?
In this picture, we're more centered on this, the glove compartment area. And this would be the information electronic control module that will be removed. It sits right here. It has kind of a plastic cover, but once we remove it, I think there's another photograph of that.
When you're going through this process, are you basically just gaining access to the thing and then unplugging it and pulling it out?
Yeah, there's basically that's it. In some situations, like around the display module, there's molding that comes on everybody's dash that is popped out or removed. It's usually in by clips. Every once in a while, there's a screw or something like that that needs to be removed.
And then just so that we're understanding what's happening in this photograph, why does it appear that there's white powder on everything in there?
This vehicle had gone through a previous evidence collection, and I forget what the name of that is, but that's like a luminol.
Blue Star?
Is Blue Star.
Okay.
That's used to under lights to detect evidence of other types of evidence like blood or other things like that.
So is that basically just the residue of the Blue Star, what it looks like once it dries?
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
283?
And this box here, the front is what you saw in the other picture would be on this side of this silver box. And then all the cables come like very similar to a computer component. They can be unplugged and pulled out.
Did you in fact unplug this unit and pull it out? And that's one of the things that was shipped off to Quantico, Virginia?
Yes.
All right. 284?
And this is the item sitting on the bench top just to get a better focused picture of it.
Same item that was in.
Same item that we've just talked about.
Okay, perfect. 285?
This is the infotainment display. This is usually on vehicles where your radio is seen, or if you have a backup camera, things like that. So this piece that is removed here was the venting above it, and the piece that we are collecting as evidence is this display system. You see a knob right here.
Okay. 286?
This is the back of that unit. The face would be facing the gear shift right there.
So is that on the face that's sort of facing down towards the gear shift, or is that basically that touch screen that's in a lot of modern cars?
Exactly. It's a touch screen that, like I said, usually allows you to change the radio or do the air conditioning, a lot of other features. Some of them have mapping systems, things like that.
287?
This is a little bit harder to see, but this would be the emergency call module. It is located inside the dash behind the steering wheel.
Okay.
You'll see a better picture when we actually get it out.
288?
And this is that same item, the emergency call module.
So that comes out of the left side of the dashboard, left of the steering wheel?
It comes out of I couldn't tell you exactly which side of the steering wheel from memory, but yes, it's the left side. It's the driver's side of the vehicle, kind of back behind the steering wheel. So you had to remove some components of the dash to get to it.
And then should be 288. That's up there now. So let's look at 289.
And this is that same item on the table where you can see it a little bit better.
Okay. You can go ahead and sit back down. So tell the jury, you mentioned that this will go into a temporary storage at your facility and then you will package it up to ship it. How do you ensure that what you're shipping and what is received is the same thing?
Good question. We have several ways of doing that. We have an evidence tracking form that goes with it that talks about who handled that product. But the items itself actually get packaged inside a box. It gets the red evidence tape over the top so that during shipping, there's anybody that would tamper with it, that tape would be ripped, the box would be open. So we can say that if it gets there and that tape is secure, that the item was not tampered with during shipment.
Once an item gets analyzed, do you know what happens with the data that may or may not come off of these units when you ship them off to Quantico?
Whenever that evidence is finalized and they get some information off, they would then send it back to us in a similar manner. It would be packaged with red evidence tape and put in FedEx and sent back to us.
If there is location data that's included in the data that's pulled off of that, is that made available to other members of the FBI to potentially map that information?
Yes. So when they pull that information off, they can send it to us. That helps us because we're in the middle of an investigation. And as soon as we can get that information, it definitely helps us quicker. A lot of times we get information sent via email or something like that. It would show us data points or GPS coordinates that we could plot on a map on a computer system and overlay it with like something that you'd be familiar with is like Google Maps with different points plotted on it.
Did that happen in this case where information came back from Quantico with location data for this particular vehicle?
It did. It came back relatively quickly, but that information is kind of raw data, and they tell us that it's not has not been certified or verified yet. So they tell us to look at it and use other means to try to corroborate that information. But I did get the data points early on in the investigation.
Did you give that information then to Special Agent Kevin Hoyland to go through that mapping process that you just described?
Yes, I did.
And do you know whether that was successfully done or not?
Yes, it was successfully done.
Okay. Your Honor, may I have just a moment?
So I have
Cross-examination?
No questions, Your Honor.
Do any of the jurors have any questions for Special Agent Donati? No? All right. Thank you, sir. You may step down.
Thank you.
Prosecution, call your next witness, please.
We'll call Special Agent Dwight Falkovsky. I'm going to place this on the witness stand. Go ahead and pull those photos out.
Okay.
Before Mr. Falkovsky takes the stand, would it be possible for defense and I to approach just briefly?
Oh, sure. All right. Agent Delkowski, if you would raise your right hand, please, sir. Step on up a
Yeah,
little
you
bit.
can come right up in here.
It's all right. You swear affirm the testimony about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Go ahead and have a seat in the witness stand. Please watch your step as you step into the stand.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Will you please introduce yourself to our jury and then spell your name for the court reporter?
My name is Dwight Falkovsky. Last name is spelled Falkofske.
Mr. Falkovsky, who do you work for?
I work for the FBI.
What do you do for the FBI?
I work as an automotive forensic specialist, and I want to expound on that.
Yes, please.
So that involves taking parts from vehicles, cars that have been that are brought to us, and we go in and find the data inside the vehicles, and we extract the data and then recraft it into a format that's human readable, so we can find out stuff that the car has contained, such as location data or phones or devices that have been connected to the car and the data associated with those things.
All right. So what kind of training allows you to do that job?
I'm an electrical engineer by a bachelor's of science from Virginia Tech. I have other items on my CV that I could put out for you for FBI training if you'd like.
Sure. Yeah. So let's start with that, the FBI training.
Okay. Let me pull up my CV.
Okay.
Okay, with the FBI, I've taken DEMS training, that's Digital Evidence Management Systems, digital evidence handling, legal ethics training, CDART mentorship and proficiency testing. That is a specialized internal thing. A little explanation there is previously I worked for the FBI as a contractor that allowed contractors to handle evidence in their facility. And also I have testified as an expert witness now twice.
Okay. How long have you, you said, I think, an electrical engineer. How long have you been an electrical engineer?
My degree was from Virginia Tech in 1992.
Okay. What's your investigative experience? How many different investigations have you been involved with?
More than I can contend with at the moment. I have an estimate on my CV. Like, one moment.
Sure.
Let's see. I've listed over 70 devices that I've examined since 2018.
Okay. What kind of devices have you examined? And I'm not asking you to give us an exhaustive list, but just a generalized idea of what kind of devices that you've worked on in your role as an FBI agent.
Okay, I'll give you the primary two pieces that I typically see from vehicles. And one is the infotainment system, which is the center portion of your car that provides you with information about, like, if you're navigating or what music you're playing, that hardware. Also, another piece of hardware that we pull from the cars is a telematics device. This is a piece that typically talks back to the corporation that's providing connected services.
Okay. And you mentioned that you've testified as an expert witness. What jurisdictions were those expert witness testimonies provided in?
Both were in South Carolina.
Okay. Was that with the Alex Murdaugh case?
Yes, one with the Murdaugh case.
Okay. What was your assignment back in 2020? Same assignment as what you're testifying to today?
Clarify, please.
What was your assignment with the FBI in 2020?
In 2020.
Yes.
So 2020, I was doing the same work as a contractor with the FBI.
Okay. Did you have an occasion to work on some devices as it relates to the Gannon Stauch investigation?
Yes.
Before I do that, Your Honor, at this time I've moved to qualify this witness as an expert witness in automotive forensic specialists.
Defense?
I don't have an objection, that's fine.
All right, the witness will be so qualified. Go ahead.
So as it relates to the devices that you examined in this case, what devices did you look at?
There were 4 pieces that I examined, and I have, I don't have the list of them in front of me, but there were 4 pieces from the vehicle. I knew that some pieces that we had worked on were not valuable in extracting data from, but there were one in particular, the infotainment system from that car was probably the primary one we looked at.
Okay. When you say 4 pieces, does that mean that one of the modules had an SD card in it or something like that, that expanded it out to 4?
No.
Okay.
The 4 physical pieces. And it should be listed in the hardware list or on the in the evidence that I provided, the digital evidence, derivative evidence. There are 4 listings there, and it shows explicitly on each piece what was provided, and it includes pictures.
Okay. And then as it relates to your work, did you have 2 different efforts towards gathering this information? One that was an initial uncertified basically result, and then a second that was more in-depth?
Yes. So I'll go ahead and explain the situation around that, if that's okay.
Yes.
So it came to us initially as an active search for a missing child, and in which case we prioritized something like that and put it, we're working on that now. And so when we initially got the pieces in, it was from a vehicle that we had not previously looked at, so we had no idea of what it might contain or the data in it. So we provided a very fast analysis on the system at that point and was able to extract location data out of that vehicle. But then part of our standard process is when we develop tools to get data off of vehicles, we have to validate them later, which requires a much more exhaustive effort to show that the data that we're putting on a system is exactly what we're getting off. So when I say this data point represents the vehicle in this location, that is accurate. So it took us an additional approximate year or so to finish that validation process.
Okay. So when you have that initial effort that you get that unvalidated data, what did you do with it, that unvalidated data?
We provided it as preliminary data back to the field.
Okay. And then that secondary effort that you mentioned was roughly a year down the road from that first effort. Was that data, did that basically validate all the data, including the data that you had sent the first time?
That's correct. And there were also, I believe there was a little bit of additional data provided as we found more data on the system over time.
Okay. Was there any discrepancy in the data? And what I mean by that is that the initial data that you provided early on, was any of that data that you provided to the investigation proven wrong based on the secondary release of data?
No, that data proved accurate.
Okay. So when we're talking about the item that was given fruitful information towards this investigation, what was that particular device?
The head unit, there was 4 devices. I believe it's the item that ends with 04. Is that?
Well, you're the expert. I can't.
Okay.
I don't know where it came from. All I know is it magically appears.
All right. Give me a moment. Let me pull out some records and so I can find we're looking for. Okay, I do have the list here.
Okay.
So you want me to go through all 4 pieces or just this one?
Well, so let me ask you just a clarifying question before we go
Okay.
down that path. Did you look at all of the items that you received from Colorado Springs to see if there was going to be any useful information on all of them?
Yes, we evaluated each piece.
And then through that evaluation, did you determine, based on what you've already said, that only one was going to provide any useful location data?
That's correct.
Okay, so let's talk about that one then.
Okay.
Which particular item are we talking about that provided useful location data for this investigation?
Okay, it was the information ECM, that's electronic control module, basically the head unit that I explained before, from a 2019 Volkswagen Tiguan.
Who did you receive these items from?
From our internal evidence control facility.
Okay, but when you get it from your internal evidence control facility, can you tell like what case it's being sent from?
The case number is with it, yes.
Okay, and can you verify that it belongs to a Volkswagen Tiguan that was seized in Colorado Springs as opposed to, let's say, Seattle, Washington?
Yes, we have a chain of evidence maintained in the digital evidence management system.
And the information that we're talking about here, was that in relation to this specific case that we're having you testify on?
I'm sorry, say one more time.
The evidence that we're talking about here, the
Yes.
location data that you were able to pull, can you verify that that information relates to our case that you're testifying in today?
Yes.
Okay. So tell the jury, how do you get the information off of this electronic control module head unit?
You want to go into specifics?
Yeah. Tell the
Okay.
jury how that works.
I'm going to pull out my notes from that. Okay, when I'm processing the evidence, this is what we did to this particular piece of evidence. We first labeled the evidence with the evidence item number and took photographs of it in its state as received. Then we disassembled the specimen, removed the circuit boards, and removed some of the memory flash chips from the circuit board that was inside. And from the flash chips, then we were able to read those flash chips using a tool so that we would have what was a binary image provided that represents the data that was inside those flash chips. Now that data is in a digital format, readable by computers and not necessarily understandable by humans. And so this is where our processes continue.
So let me break in there just so that we're understanding.
Okay.
When you say that you pull a chip off and then you read it, do you mean that you're physically looking at it and reading information off of it?
We have specialized tools that access the chip and can read the chip in its proper protocols to be able to pull the data off correctly.
And were you able to successfully do that in this particular case?
Yes, for 2 chips.
For 2 chips off of this electronic control module circuit board?
That's correct.
Okay. Do you then look at the data before you send it back to the investigative arm or area?
Yes. So this case, at this point in the stage, you've only got a binary image with no understanding of what the data means.
Okay.
And so there was processing performed at this point.
So tell us about the processing.
Okay. So part of this is we were able to extract logical file systems from the image. And from the logical file systems, we combed the files that we found for information that might be related to location of the vehicle, because that was stated as an item of interest. And from that, we found, one moment. We quickly found that there was some location data available in some computer logs that were on there in a textual format that were very easy to access, which allowed us to quickly, within 1 day, write a parsing tool that would go out and pull that data from those logs. And that data was represented with coordinates and timestamps.
And when you say coordinates, do you mean like GPS coordinates?
Yeah, geocoordinates.
Geocoordinates?
Yeah.
When you get those geocoordinates out of that log that you're describing, what do you do with it?
So we prepare it into a format that is usable as for us humans. I can give you a coordinate, but then you'll even have to go out and type those coordinates into a thing like Google Earth to be able to see them. So we take that and provide, the parser takes the information and puts it into a file that you can just throw into Google Earth. It's called a KML file. And that file will automatically populate the locations and times of the vehicle on a map.
Okay. So how do you get that information back to the originating investigative region?
So in this case, we also provided let me just add there, because of the nature of the search, we went ahead and looked at some of the data and provided a PDF as well, along with the KML file to say, here's some points of interest you may want to go look at. And that was, I'm just seeing which method was provided back. It was provided back to the field. I believe that was over electronic communication.
Okay. Do you know who you provided it to?
So I wrote down here the case agent, which I guess at the time that might have been Donati.
Okay. So Special Agent David Donati?
Yes.
Okay. What day did you provide that to him? Do you have that information?
I have the date that I had the review. February 12th, 2020.
Okay. And then is it common for field agents to then potentially give that information to other potential experts, FBI or not FBI, to then do some sort of mapping with this data that you're providing?
Absolutely. It's their call what they do with the data.
Okay. The should be up there on the desk with you. I put the exhibit envelope. Should be People's Exhibit 291. Do you see that?
This thing?
Yep.
Okay.
You see that? Do you recognize it?
Is there something inside I need to look at?
Well, do you recognize it or not?
I do not.
Okay. Do you remember, did you put the information on some sort of a card, or SD card or something like that?
I put on an SD card, yes.
Okay. The information that was contained in that SD card, was that provided back to the field to Special Agent David Donati?
That was provided, yes, at a later time.
Okay. How was that provided to him?
Okay, so that, as I was speaking earlier, we had about a year's time pass where we provided the validation of the data. So when our evaluation of the whole process was complete to our satisfaction, then we provided this evidence in totality and in confidence back to the field through the SD card.
Okay. And so what we have in People's Exhibit 291, is that the information that you provided back to the field based on your extraction of the data from those modules?
See, it says SD card, but I don't see the SD card here. So,
okay. So do you remember prior to you getting on the stand, me asking if you'd had a chance to look at this item or?
I looked at the SD card and I initialed the SD card. Is that not available?
Okay, so that should be in that envelope.
In the envelope. Okay, I just wanted to check.
There should be some scissors there to your left.
Okay. I will open the envelope.
Yep.
Oh, there we go.
Is that what you looked at?
That is what I looked at.
Okay.
This is the evidence we provided.
All right.
I did not recognize the package it was in.
Okay. So is that the same SD card that was provided in this investigation that contained that location data that you sent back to the field investigator, Special Agent David Donati?
Yes.
Is it fair and accurate representation of that data that you recovered from that electronic control module back on February 12th of 2020?
Yes, I verified it just shortly before this meeting.
Your Honor, at this time, I move for admission of People's Exhibit 291.
Defense.
Can I ask just what are a couple questions?
On authenticity? Yes,
The
go ahead.
exhibit.
Go ahead.
Yes. Special Agent, hi. Good morning.
Good morning.
Just quickly, this SD card information you have, is this the verified stuff that came approximately a year after February 2020?
That's correct.
Okay, this isn't the initial.
This is not the preliminary data.
Okay.
It does include the preliminary data that we provided at that time as well.
Okay. And how is the preliminary data different from the final data that you got at a year later?
So the preliminary data was what we initially found during a compressed timeline to try to locate a missing child, and later on proved to be accurate in its totality. There were some potential additions to the data as we continued to process it over that year.
Okay. Were there any discrepancies or inconsistencies between the preliminary data and the final data that was published or released a year later?
Yeah.
Okay. Your Honor, I don't have an objection.
All right, Exhibit 291 will be admitted. Mr. Allen, go ahead.
And that was the, some of my questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination, Mr. Cook?
No, Your Honor.
Do any of the jurors have any questions for Agent Falkovsky? No? All right. Thank you, sir. You may step down.
Thank you.
We just, before you get down, we just put that SD card back.
It is in the envelope, but it's not sealed. Here's.
Counsel, approach for a moment. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, trials are sort of a dicey business. Sometimes witnesses go faster than you think, and sometimes they take longer than what you think. The good news and the bad news here is the same, which is these witnesses are going a little bit faster, which means that there's about 45 minutes that we would normally use that we're not going to. So what that means is that you're going to have a longer lunch. We will have all of these witnesses coming in at 1:30. So if you can come back or be back in the jury room at 1:30 and be ready to proceed at that point in time, we should be able to start on time. Again, do not discuss the case among yourselves. Do not discuss the case with anyone else. Do not do your own independent research about any aspect of your case. With that, all rise for the jury, please. You may all be seated. Record should reflect the jury has left the courtroom. Is there anything we need to take up outside the presence of the jury at this point in time? Prosecution?
Judge, just to expand a little bit on that issue as far as witnesses, just looking ahead a little bit. So we've got two witnesses scheduled to finish out today, Judge. They're local witnesses. And then our next witnesses are, I think, not available until tomorrow morning. We have three witnesses lined up for tomorrow morning. One of which is Dr. Grimmett, who now lives in Hawaii. I think flew in maybe. Okay, she flew in at 6 a.m. this morning. Special Agent Kevin Hoyland from the FBI is from the East Coast. He's actually flying in today. I'm not sure exactly what time he gets in. And then Dr. Moore from the jail is where she used to work. She does no longer works there, I don't believe. Is that right?
She's in Kansas.
She lives in Kansas now.
Okay.
And just along those same lines, we've got what appears to be 7-ish witnesses left, Judge.
Okay. Okay. Well, if we have some holes or some gaps here and there, I mean, you guys have done a good job in being efficient and moving things along. So I think we're ahead of schedule, and I understand when we get towards the end of trial, that's usually where the holes start to appear because you've got a limited number of witnesses that you're trying to get to rearrange and schedule. So I get that.
Yeah.
Is Dr. Grimmett the only one that you're going to call from CMHIP? Or are you
No,
Torres or Gray?
Torres is also from CMHIP.
And you're going to call her?
I believe so, Judge.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
And then just for scheduling your, you initially thought about bringing Dr. Lewis in to testify on Friday, but based upon the district attorney not being sure they're going to be done before then, we've pushed it back on flying in this weekend. The idea they should be testifying on Monday.
Okay. So it's possible that Friday may be a down day.
We may have Friday afternoon.
Well, we can,
But I don't know.
we can talk about jury instructions, see where we are then. We ought to have some idea. We ought to be pretty close because it sounds to me like most likely will be done sometime next week. That's fair?
Yes, I would say that's very fair.
Okay. So we can talk about jury instructions on Friday and see where we are. They look to be in pretty good shape, frankly. Mr. Tellini, can you get me a theory of defense by Friday?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, if I get in Thursday, because I've been kind of cruised through them, but I haven't looked at them specifically. So I'll have any defense instructions or any other instructions from the defense by Friday.
Yeah, just give me some idea so that, okay. Okay, then we will see everybody at 1:30 this afternoon. Thank you.
All right.
This trial is clicking right along. And I think the reason is because the defense is not cross-examining for very long. They ask a few mundane questions, they ask a few watered down questions, and they're done, they're out. I mean, my goodness. They're wasting this jury's time is what they're doing. I get a bathroom break and, you know, the judge saying, make sure you use the bathroom down the hall or whatever. But I mean, this is ridiculous. Alibi says the defense has nothing to go on. You're right. They don't. I mean, she's already admitted what she did. It all comes down to her sanity at the time. So if I heard him correctly, the state's going to be winding this down soon. Now, I did see a question. Is Lena going to testify? She's still on the witness list, so I don't know. I really don't know. Peas in a Pod said, don't hire these defense attorneys if you need one there. What they're you're right, Peas. What they're waiting on, the defense, all their eggs are in one basket, and that's with Dr. Dorothy Lewis. So what she says has to weigh in with the jury. Now, from what I'm understanding, a lot of, I'll trying to find a way to say it. Who the hell's texting me? Hang on. From what I'm understanding, juries in this area tend to go with the defense. Not saying that they would let someone go, but they would rather get them better as opposed to put them in jail. I don't know. Lena still lives in Colorado. Ryan said, I'm excited to see how the prosecution does in questioning Dr. Lewis. Me too. I'm going to put the link up if anybody wants to come up and talk because it is concerning. Some areas of the country are they don't want to hear it. And some are, they believe more in rehabilitation. And the demographics of this area are more into institutionalizing as opposed to jail. Angel said, so all the defense has in their basket is that doctor. Well, they have other people on the witness list, but mainly this doctor. And this doctor's no joke. Dr. Dorothy Lewis is no joke. Beagle says, not quite true, Brooks. El Paso County, Colorado is loaded with conservatives. This could be a mixed jury. And you're right. And I don't know. And I don't like to get into conservative versus liberal or independent, or it's to me, it's not about politics. It's just the trend in the trials they have. That seems to be the going trend in that county. And that's really all that matters, because I'm not on the jury. If I was on the jury, I'd be like, I'm not buying this. She planned it. She's nasty. She's just a nasty person. So I don't know who was on their jury, but I know they had a long time to select their jury. Bonafide said, yes, but you can pay any doctor to say you're crazy, just saying, and you're exactly right. Natasha says, you can't rehabilitate evil, and she is pure evil. She is. You're exactly right. Beagle Mom said, I'm not about politics, but conservative versus liberal. It does play a big part. And both the state and the defense got to help pick the jury. We've already seen one juror dismissed. And I'm not saying it's all bad news. It may not be. You know, it's not me on the jury. It's not any of us. I am concerned, though. I really am. And I know some people are saying, oh my gosh, it's a slam dunk. I mean, look at everything that they're playing. She's her sound mind. I just don't know what this woman's going to say. Day Tripper said, I watched a documentary about Dr. Lewis, not impressed. I'm not either. I think she's a freaking nut. I think she's a freaking nut. She cares more about animals than people. I mean, this woman lost her mind over freaking animals, but she can testify in trials about murdered children and side with the person that did it, saying that they weren't a sound mind. I don't get it. We're talking about a murdered child, and she wants to worry more about freaking penguins? Yeah, no. Now, there's a reason we're at the top of the food chain, okay? Grandma Bunny said she wants to manipulate her way out of the mental institution. They don't want her really off either. But if they got someone to say did, their only chance. True. Good Grandma said her science is junk. It is. It is. You know, and I hope that the state brings up that this woman, you know, she's, like I said, she's more worried about animals than human beings. It's insane. All right, let's put something on to take our mind off of what we've been watching.
your body grows bigger.
Your mind loves power.
It's great to learn.
Cause knowledge is power. It's Schoolhouse Rocky, the chip on the block of your favorite Schoolhouse Rock.
Come on, let's follow them down to that place of renown. They call it the Conjunction Junction Diner. With Schoolhouse Rocky and friends, you know the fun never ends. Cause everyone's a Schoolhouse Rock headliner.
Extra!
Rocky gets the diner cooking in short order when he feeds that video jukebox and nickels, dimes, and quarters.
Junction, junction, what's your function? Hooking up multiplication to music, rocking with grammar and science and history.
With music on the menu, learning's really no mystery.
When you're in conjunction, junction,
Fun's your function.
picking up some knowledge, rocking round the clock, accumulating power, watching Schoolhouse Rock.
Hey, Chef, what's the special today?
Lots of lettuce with a side of money.
Here's how to make sense of dollars and cents.
You know I love country music and I practice daily on my out-of-tune cockamamie ukulele. But my daily ukulele playing ain't gonna get me far. I need a guitar, an amp, and some quadraphonics, and several $100s worth of electronics if I'm ever gonna get to be a country western star. Gotta get me some dollars and cents, dollars and cents. Them greenback bills with the pictures of the presidents. Now I hear you squawking, Miss Becky Sue. Why don't you drop by the bank and I'll explain to you how you can make more dollars if you use a little common sense. Chill out, young lady, no need to fret. Although you can't afford to buy that new equipment yet, you got a couple $100 saved up in your birthday stash. Why not deposit them dollars in the bank instead? Then at the end of the year you come out way ahead, because the bank will pay you money in exchange for the use of your cash. And that's called interest. You're making money that way, and you can buy that gear about a year from today. Saving sounds mighty nifty, Mr. Banker dude. You know I'd like to be thrifty, but I ain't in the mood. I'm inspired and I'm writing me a brand new country song. I got a lot of country western in my blood, like Reba and Loretta and Winona Judd. Gotta get me that equipment and I ain't about to wait too long. Gotta get me some dollars and cents, dollars and cents. Them greenback bills with the pictures of the presidents. So please, Mr. Banker, won't you tell me how I can get my mitts on some money right now? Cause waiting for my dollars really doesn't seem to make much sense. Why, sure, Becky Sue, I can give you a hand. I can lend you the money, but you must understand, when you borrow from the bank, then you gotta pay it back on time. And when you're done paying back every dollar that's due, you will find you paid them back a little extra too. For every dollar you borrow, you gotta pay the bank $1 and a dime. Again, that's interest, and it's just a fee you pay to use the money that you borrow from me. We're talking about dollars and cents, dollars and cents. Them greenback bills with the pictures of the presidents. Since life is one experience that spares us no expense, we gotta use them dollars with a little bit of common sense. We gotta use them dollars with a little bit of common sense. Are you sure Dolly Parton started this way? How you gonna get by on just $7.50 once a week? Dad?
$7.50 once a week. They pay me $7.50 once a week. You see me walking tall down at the shopping mall, 'cause I'm making $7.50 once a week. Now every Monday morning when I get my pay, I'm feeling very rich indeed. I got a pocket full of money I can spend each day, so I can pay for all the stuff I need. I got a great start, but here's the hard part. I got to plan for every expense, 'cause every nickel counts when your entire allowance is only $7.50. but I do like to live it up. Every day after lunch at school, I treat myself to an ice cream sandwich. At 50 cents a piece, that comes to $2.50 every week. But that's okay, I got $5 left. I'm still ahead of the game. I start with $7.50 at the top. My favorite bubble gum is 60 cents a pop. I got to choose and plan and do the best I can. I think I'm gonna have to learn to shop. By just comparing prices, I could save a lot. I spent $2 for a bite to eat. This chicken enchilada really hits the spot, but it's on sale for 50 cents across the street. Now I would like to try a slice of pizza pie, but I am high and dry, it's no joke. I should have planned ahead, I spent it all instead. My allowance is gone, and I am broke. When you get $7.50 once a week, sometimes the situation seems a little bleak. Cause it's a drag at the mall when you got no cash at all. You're down the tube, you're up the creek. Well, there goes my allowance. I didn't plan ahead, I made some bad choices, and I compared prices too late. I guess I'll have to find a way to earn some more, but that shouldn't be too hard. Maybe I can do an extra household chore, like wash the car or mop the floor, or maybe help clean up the backyard. I'll get my spending plan, I'll get my shopping done, and still have cash on hand that I can spend on fun. I still get $7.50 once a week, but now I learned some money management technique, and I can save enough to buy some real cool stuff, and I made my little fortune, so to speak, on only $7.50 once a week. That's my allowance. $7.50 once a week. I balanced my budget.
Where does the money go? Here's where the money goes.
Dad, how come you and Mom can't pay for me to go on my band trip to the Rose Bowl parade? Don't you make a ton of money?
I don't know about that, but we do have a ton of expenses.
Like what? Isn't there something here we can do without?
We could stop buying groceries, but that might be a mistake. Cause eating is a habit I'd be loath to try and break. We could stop paying income tax, but they might send me to jail. And if we don't pay the mortgage, then they'll take our house. Then where would we get our mail? If not for all these bills and taxes, our income would more than suffice. I feel like a real big cheese until everybody takes a slice. And I don't want to bore you with my troubles or my woes. Still, you're old enough to know where the money goes. We don't have to pay for furniture if you want to learn upholstering. We don't really need to pay the phone bill. We can use tin cans and a string. It's bedtime. We'd never have to pay to paint the house if we went off and lived in a cave. And if you're planning on inheriting $1 million, then there's really no need to save. We'd make a decent living, that's true. But we have to pay these bills when they come due. Please observe this illustration, which irrefutably shows exactly how and where the money goes. You know, if you could help us cut down on some of these expenses, I bet we could save enough for you to go on that trip.
What could I do?
We could really lower the phone bill if you limit the length of your call.
Bye.
You could probably put some money in your savings bank if you skip one trip to the mall. We'd spend a little less on electricity if you turn off the lights when you leave. And we could save a lot on our laundry bills if you'd watch where you put your sleeve. You could bring a little in with a part-time job. All we ask is that you do your best. If you earn a little here and save a little there, we'll try to come up with stop the money from trickling out, but we can control how it flows. And we can start by being aware of where the money goes.
Now let's meet Taxman Max.
Welcome to the new variety. Sit and relax. I'm that song and dance phenomenon, Max. Let me sing for you, do my thing for you till they give me the axe. Here's the song I'm doing, gonna fill you in on tax. Tax is that familiar melody, simple and true. Hum it if you've earned $1 or $2. Bucks are being spent by the government for whatever they do. Anyone who earns a living gives more than a few. So our schools can be their best. So our roads will have no cracks. Someone fix those train tracks. I hear you calling Uncle and I'm paying my tax. Oh, these are my girls. Hello, girls.
Hello, Max. Nice outfit. There are many different ways that we pay what we owe.
Ladies, if you'll form a lovely tableau.
Income, property, sales, utility,
Candy bars at my show.
licenses for dogs and
And
cats.
that's not all you know. Out of almost every dollar a person can make, city, state, and federal governments take what they think is fair. You give in your share now, and then there's a break. Max is talking taxes. Hey, have I kept you awake?
For the things your town may need. For the things the country lacks. All good things take greenbacks.
We hear you calling Uncle, and we're paying our tax.
People do complain, say their taxes are high. What am I to get in return?
Oh, look around, your friend. Max is showing you why.
With your taxes you support how we live and how we learn.
Now, here's the good news. Many things are tax deductible, which means their cost can be subtracted from the amount of income you'll be taxed on. Things like medicine, doctor bills, and supplies for your work. So keep those receipts. Be kind to your parents at tax time. And remember, April 15th.
April 15th. What a showman you are, Max. Entertaining us with tax. In those snazzy glad slacks.
These slacks are for my business. I tell you, I'll deduct them. I hear you calling Uncle, and I'll pay in my tax.
His tax. Our Max.
And I'm deducting my sacks.
Let's go walking on Wall Street.
Extra, extra latest Wall Street prices.
It's a quarter. Keep the change. You gotta be cool when you're walking on Wall Street. Like going to school, you'll learn a lot every day. And this is the rule when you're walking on Wall Street. Buy low, sell high, take a piece of the pie. That's the Wall Street way. When you use your money to make more money, that's called an investment. When you invest in a corporation, that means you own your own share of it. The companies that manufacture things we use, like telescopes and videos and high-top shoes, are looking for investors such as me and you, so we can own shares in the company too. That's called stock. Smart investors look to buy stock in a company that's going up in value. Here's a stock that's looking mighty good, I think. Whiz Bang Cola, that's my favorite drink. Looks as if their sales are going up sky high. Better call my broker and tell him to buy. Hello, Leroy. This is Lester the investor. Whiz Bang Cola's going up. Buy some stock for me.
Okay, Lester, confirming your order. Buy Whiz Bang Cola at 8 1/4.
All right. You gotta be smart when you're walking on Wall Street. So just just for a start. I check the paper each day. First I read the comics, then I check the sports, and then I take a look at the market reports to see if my stock is riding low or high, so I know when to sell and I know when to buy. Uh-oh, here's a dime. Keep the change. Stock prices go up and down, so smart investors like me buy a little at a time every month. That way we can watch the ups and downs average out in the long run. Leroy calls that dollar cost averaging. I don't want to get hurt when I'm walking on Wall Street. I could lose my shirt, not to mention my cash. So I stay alert when I'm walking on Wall Street. Buy low, sell high, take my piece of the pie.
Read all about it, ladies. Wall Street Flash. Whiz bang coolies on the ride.
Well, I came out ahead, and I'm swinging on Wall Street. And just like I said, I'm learning more every day. So remember the rule when you're walking on Wall Street. Buy low, sell high, take your piece of the pie. Here's $1, keep the change. That's the Wall Street way.
Hey, what do you say? I'll give you this for that.
When we lived in caves, there were no shopping malls, and people's manners were Neanderthal. No bodegas, no delis, no corner stores. Shopping trips turned into tugs of war. When not having full got this man mangled, he thought he'd try an easier angle. I'll give you this for that, that for this. We'll make a trade called barter. I'll give you this for that, that for this. We'll have it made with barter. Now barter worked well, at least in theory, but a wallet full of yaks could make you weary. Making change for a cow wasn't easy to master unless you were ready for an utter disaster. Shiny shells were far more portable. Why not use them for what's affordable? I'll give you this for that, that for this. With shiny shells, why barter? I'll give you this for that, that for this. Shelling out shells is smarter. For farmers in ancient Mesopotamia, the barley they grew was the money mania. When hauling big sacks put their backs in traction, they invented coins to lighten transactions. Now when a man had a debt to settle, he'd dig out some coins made of precious metal. I'll give you this for that, that for this. Silver or gold or copper. I'll give you this for that, that for this. With coins you're a smarter shopper. Then China made money even more desirous, printing it on paper made of crushed papyrus. Take one from column A and one from column B. The Chinese paid their checks in paper currency. When Columbus set out on that famous charter, he had no paper money, so he had to barter. He took along some beads for currency, so barter played a part in our discovery. Balboa and Pizarro and Sebastian Cabot, even Coronado had the trading habit. I'll give you this for that, that for this. They loaded up with gold and parted. I'll give you this for that, that for this. And soon the whole world was charted. Today we use cash and spend with ardor, but that doesn't mean we don't still barter. When a football team needs an all-pro guard, or a kid like you is into trading cards. Take this for that, that for this. Bills and coins are smarter, but when you pay for that, remember this. It all started out with barter.
What's the national debt? It's a monster.
To your left, folks, is the Washington Monument. To your right, the White House. And over there, just beyond the Capitol, is the national debt.
Whoa! Wow. There's something huge, red, white, and blue, that's grazing in D.C. It's gobbling up the taxes that are paid by you and me. It doesn't seem to notice we really can't afford the billions that it's costing us to pay its room and board. It doesn't roam, but seems content to dwell on Capitol Hill. As long as trucks keep pulling up with tons of greenback bills, we got to feed the big guy. We really can't forget it has an awesome appetite, Tyrannosaurus debt.
The debt was born in 1790 when our new government took over $75 million the colonies spent in the Revolutionary War.
We've got to feed the monster so it doesn't get upset. It's got an awesome appetite, Tyrannosaurus debt.
Alexander Hamilton, our first Secretary of the Treasury, he's on the 10, you know, wanted a federal debt to provide a reason to establish taxes to support our new nation.
The debt was young, they kept it small, they didn't know back then. In 1812, another war would make it grow again. By 66, the Civil War had cost the nation millions. The government in Washington now had a debt of billions.
The Civil War ran up a debt of almost $3 billion that still wasn't paid off by World War I.
We're spending money we don't have, or so it would appear. The deficit is that amount we overspend each year. Though congressmen and senators make vows to cut its size, despite their honest efforts, the debt just seems to rise.
Now the debt's over $5 trillion and still growing.
A balanced budget would be great to spend within our means and stop the monster in its tracks before we bust our seams. It feeds on just the interest. Its appetite is whet. It never ever stops to rest. Tyrannosaurus debt.
And this is the U.S. Treasury. It sells treasury bonds, bills and notes, and savings bonds to finance the debt. The U.S. government promises to pay the owner interest plus the value of each bond at a future date.
We've got to try to tame the debt and bring it down to size. To let it grow unchecked like this is certainly unwise. The debt's a monster problem that we really can't ignore. I guess we should be grateful that it's not a carnivore. We got to keep on servicing our $1 trillion pet. It's got a monster appetite, Tyrannosaurus debt. A fiscal misadventure with $1 trillion dentures, Tyrannosaurus debt.
Feeding time is all the time.
The check? The check's in the mail.
The check's in the mail. The check is in the mail, and it ought to be there Tuesday without fail. If you have got a bill to pay or something you need to buy, just type the check and send it off in the mail. Millions of Americans go out every day with a checkbook in their purse. They might have a little cash to pay for their lunch and a little to get home on the bus. But if they suddenly decide to make a purchase or shop, they whip it out and write out the exact amount with some ID. Then they sign it and they walk out with the stuff that they paid for with their checking account. The check's in the mail. The check is in the mail, and it ought to be there Wednesday without fail. When you need to send some money to what business folk do, just write a check and send it off in the mail. Every month you've got a little bundle to pay, like the rent, the lights, the phone, and the car. Write them out for each amount and send them away with